hopefully.
All right, I think we got it rolling now.
Yeah, it's working. It says on my phone that someone is recording this meeting, so I guess we all better behave now, right?
Yeah, we'll give it a little bit of time here before we start, but we had a lot of people that said they might join a little late, and a lot of people said they'd listen to the recording, so
okay,
we'll still roll it like we normally do. I don't know if Phil was going to join tonight or not, but we'll give it 30 seconds more.
Okay.
And you guys can hear me fine, right?
I can.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I got you, Matt.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening. Is that Phil?
Hi.
Well, Phil, we can go ahead and start if you'd like.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. There's a number of things to cover tonight, and Matt and Andrew are going to cover most of it, but just a reminder to get out your calendar and update it for the action items that were in Matt's recent letter and the email to us, and the things that are discussed tonight. One of them, of course, is contacting your legislator for the oral chemotherapy fairness legislation. That may involve several calls if it takes that to get them to actually go in and sign the board once it's put up. We also encourage whatever promotion you can do for the Great American Smokeout on the 17th, and they'll give us more detail on what we need to do with regard to getting federal funding for the 21st Century Cures and the Moonshot. That and Andrew, you're scheduled to give the Michigan update. Would you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, sure, I can. Thanks, Phil, and welcome to everyone that's on, and welcome to those who will be joining us a little bit later or be listening to the recording. First of all, I'm happy to see that hopefully everyone has survived our election season. I know I'm happy to see regular commercials again on my TV. So, I'm more interested in seeing the guy from Sundance Auto, and those who live in the Lansing area or in the Lansing market know the guy I'm talking about, rather than seeing commercials on Tim Wahlberg and Gretchen Driscoll. So let's kind of talk about Michigan a little bit in terms of what happened out of the election, and Matt will touch on the federal stuff, but really what we're seeing in Michigan, we only had one chamber that was up, and that was the House of Representatives, and I can tell you at this point, nothing changed in terms of control and power, how many Republicans, how many Democrats. I know a lot of people said it was a huge Republican wave and brought in even more Republicans. In Michigan, it didn't. And so essentially we're at the status quo. We just have new people coming in. And so, we're starting now to plan educational efforts for our new members that will be coming into the legislature at the first of the year, and it'll be a multi-pronged approach to talk about policy and providing information to meet and greets and one-on-ones. So we really kind of have an understanding of who these people are, and they know and understand what's important for ACS and ACS can. So we're starting to get ready for that, and we'll be laying our plans and our groundwork here within the next couple weeks, and we'll get some of that information out to you. In terms of what we're looking at now for the last 3 weeks of session, and so the legislature was in this week, and they were just in Tuesday, Wednesday. Really, the only big thing they worked on had to deal with energy legislation, and so the Senate acted on that today, and so that will that's teeing itself up for energy choice and whatnot here in the lame duck session the last 3 weeks once they come back from Thanksgiving. But now lawmakers will be on break from now until after the Thanksgiving holiday, so that they have a chance to, those that live in northern Michigan or even around here that hunt have a chance to go hunt for firearm season and for bow season, and then for those that and then they have Thanksgiving and spending time with their families. So we have two issues that we expect will get some action and some life for us. And first is oral chemotherapy fairness. And I think all of you have really been plugged in. And thank you to those that have taken some of our posters and are carrying them around your community and asking people to sign them. I think that it'll provide a huge impact for lawmakers when they come in and see this. And for them to get on board and sign and support, our efforts to provide fairness, I think will be just it's even more momentum to get us over this hump and to get our legislation over to the governor. So what we're looking at now is we really don't foresee a committee hearing for this. But we really see a discharge motion on the floor, which is a procedural motion which takes the bill out of committee and brings it to the floor for consideration in the House. And so we really see that happening here, if not the first week that they're back, having them move forward with that. So our fingers crossed are with that. I know our coalition members that we're working with have really been pushing to see if we can't get this discharged to the floor and have things move. And so, we're really working hard to solidify that before folks head off for Thanksgiving. So, so just kind of a heads up there. But thank you again for working on the posters. And expect some action alerts and phone call opportunities and social media opportunities to come here within the next few weeks. Finally, we're going to be working on a piece of legislation that really kind of gets technical and deep in the weeds, but it deals with regulation of biosimilar drugs. And so, I've mentioned this before a little bit. We had some action on this legislation early on this year, but really kind of ran into a situation where we had a disagreement between folks that were working on the issue and the chair of health policy in the Senate, and the bill was changed drastically to a point where it put us on the opposition side of the bill rather than being supportive of it. And we really want to support this legislation because it essentially provides access to these biosimilar drugs, which in a very crude sense, you could say it's equivalent to a generic drug. And so these biosimilars are a quote-unquote generic to the biologic product that patients would take. And we know a lot of those, a lot of the biologics that are coming out today are used for cancer. And so when we talk about a biologic, it's a drug that's created from a living organism. And so, a drug I think about is cisplatin. It's a chemotherapy drug that is derived from a plant. And so what a biosimilar is, it's a drug that's somewhat close to that main drug or that reference drug that they're trying to create. But since it is from a living organism, it can never, ever get close or be exact. And so that's why they have some regulations around it. What we want in it has to deal with notification, so that if a biosimilar is dispensed to a patient, that the physician is notified that this biosimilar has been dispensed. And so since they are different than a generic drug would be, we want to ensure that physicians know that this drug has been given, and and if there is some type of adverse reaction, they have the full picture of what's going on with their patients. So I would look for some movement on those. We have a couple pie in the sky type of issues we may work on. One deals with regulation e-cigarettes. But we'll have to see whether or not there's a willingness from the chairman to go ahead and work on that issue moving forward. So, right now the bill is stuck in committee. The chairman has no interest in it. And that's the bad bill. It's the Rick Jones bad bill. And so if the chairman has no interest in moving that without putting our amendments on, then I'm fine with it sitting there dying, and we take another run at it next year. So, but that's really about it. I think, no real big changes here in Michigan. And it'll be interesting to see what this legislature, what this House will look like, and some of the issues that they want to work on, coming up here in the coming term. So, I guess I'll leave it there and see if anyone has any questions. All right. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to either Matt or I, and we'll get stuff your way. So, Phil, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Matt, you ready to roll on the federal update?
Sure. So just to piggyback kind of on what Andrew was just talking about, in Michigan, in the U.S. Congress, as far as the election went and what happened, actually what happened in Congress is that things got actually tighter. In the Senate, Democrats actually picked up 2 seats in the U.S. Senate. So although the Republicans maintain their majority, it's less of a majority than it was. So there are now 52 Republicans and 48 Democrats. And also in the House, Democrats actually picked up 6 seats in the House. And although Republicans still hold a pretty big majority in the House, it's a little tighter than it was before. And so that might differ from what you kind of are seeing in the media as they obsess about the presidential race. But actually in Congress, things got a little bit tighter as far as the Democratic and Republican split. And so first, before I get into what might happen at the end of the year, just to calm fears, because I've received some emails about what does this mean for the Affordable Care Act and what does this mean for our issues next year. Well, we don't know. And I will just say, even though the first indication people have is that a President Trump might not be on the side of our issues, everything has to go through Congress. And basically, the Affordable Care Act is now 6 years in. It's so large, so robust, even though people might not like the individual mandate, all the specific parts of it people like. So if you can remember back to way back 8 years ago when we worked on this bill, and we kept always touting our polling, which has been true, which was everybody loved every aspect of the Affordable Care Act for the most part, except for the individual mandate. So I find it hard to believe that Congress is going to do anything too drastic, because kicking people off insurance and rolling back limits and stuff, that's a lot of bad news that will be reported. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but Medicaid expansion would be, if they rolled that back, for instance, in Michigan, that would be basically headlining 600,000 Michiganders kicked off insurance. So we'll wait and see what they want to do. I think a lot of it's been rhetoric up to this point without many real plans of how they would possibly repeal and replace something like the Affordable Care Act. Now it's going to be more of, okay, how would you actually do that? And the reality is that's going to be extremely tough to do. So we'll wait and see how all that unfolds, but now to get into just the lame duck between now and the end of the year for this Congress as they finish up, what are we looking at? First, on the research funding part, there is a very good chance we could pass the 21st Century Cures Act here before the end of the year. That's Fred Upton's bill. It does many things with streamlining drugs and things like that, but the big part for us is that it would authorize Congress to spend $680 million of NCI funding on the cancer moonshot. And I say authorize. It doesn't actually allocate the money or give them money, but it authorizes. And the big deal is if we can get the cures passed, it's basically Congress saying, yes to $680 million going towards NCI. Then the other side of that is then they would have to, in the budget, pass the budget and allocate the money. The House of Representatives sits in the side that they kind of want to just continue the budget as is until March and kind of just kick the can down the road to the next Congress and the next president to figure out a budget then. The Senate wants to do a large, what they call omnibus budget, and get it done by the end of the year so that they can start the year clean and with the new administration start the budget process clean. So we'll see how that works out. They're saying that this all could be decided by December 6th. We'll see. But that's kind of where we're at. There's going to probably be some action items coming out around this at the end of the month and in the beginning of December. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure there'll be some action alerts. Please respond. But we'll be working on that. The other thing that's going on is our PCHETA bill, the Palliative Care Hospice Education Training Act. We're continuing to push for them to mark up that bill and push Fred Upton's committee to do it and him to take that bill up and mark it up. They're going to continue pushing on that. And actually next week, on the 14th, they're going to do a day of action around the palliative care bill. And they're going to have people from all over the country calling in and asking Upton to mark up the bill and things like that. So you're going to probably see some action from us on the 14th, asking people to take action and contact Fred Upton. So that's kind of what's going on with the palliative care bill. They don't believe it will pass this year, but if they can get it, they got the committee hearing. If they can get a markup, it's just one more step in the process done, which will lead it to being much more likely to be worked on next year. So that's all happening at the federal level. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right. Hearing none, I'll just go right into my next part, which we've kind of hinted at November and December activity. And so we wanted to prepare you that we have a lot of activity coming your way. We haven't done a lot over the last month or 2 months, and the elections kind of held up a lot of stuff. But here in November, starting next week, we're going to have our palliative care day of action on the federal level that I just talked about. But in addition to that, next Thursday is the Great American Smokeout, and we are going to try to utilize the Great American Smokeout to create some earned media and some support around our tobacco tax campaign. So the Prevention Michigan Tobacco Free campaign, the campaign we've been collecting the petitions for all year long, we are going to be dropping those petitions off to the governor. And so what we're going to be doing is we are taking all the petitions, which we now have over 2,000 petitions, so thank you for that. We're making copies of all those petitions, and we're going to drop all those copies off to the governor. We're going to be doing a little media event on the Capitol steps that's going to feature ACS CAN, the American Heart Association, the American Lung Association, and Tobacco Free Michigan, all standing up there asking the governor to look at raising tobacco taxes, fund prevention. CJ has agreed to speak and be our story. He's going to talk about his grandfather who died of lung cancer at the event. So he's going to talk, Andrew's going to talk, and then once we wrap up talking, which is only going to be about 5-10 minutes, we're going to be walking over to the Romney building and in there, and we're going to be dropping these off to the governor's office. We've already given them a heads up, and they're actually going to have somebody, maybe their deputy communications director, which would be really cool, to accept the petitions and make a little statement from the governor. So that's what's going on the Great American Smokeout. The thing that involves everybody about that, starting Monday, we're going to start advertising that because we're actually going to stream this event in the petition drop-off live on Facebook. And so we're going to start advertising that, asking people to follow the event at 12 on Thursday, like it, share it with their lawmakers, but we're also going to ask people to share things with their lawmakers leading up to it about tobacco and get ready for this event So we're not just doing an event in Lansing. We're going to try and make it a social media event, having people watch, comment, share, and all of that. So that's what we're doing next week. The following week is Thanksgiving. We're going to take a break. There's not much that's going to go on that week. But then the following week after that in December is going to be the first week that the Michigan legislature is back for a whole week to work on things. And so that's when you're going to start to see us rev up again on the oral chemo. We're probably going to send out an alert next week on oral chemo also, maybe on Wednesday. So look for that and take action. But then we're going to come back on December, in that last week of November, first week of December, and start talking oral chemo again. And maybe do another alert that week. The week of December 6th and 7th, actually go back. December 1st, we're going to be collecting all of our oral chemo boards that are out there and getting ready, because on December 6th and 7th, we're going to be displaying those in the Capitol. We have a room set up that we're going to display them, and then both on Tuesday the 6th and Wednesday the 7th, we're bringing them down to the Capitol Rotunda to display them for an hour in the Rotunda as the lawmakers, the House members come into session. So we're going to be asking people to be down there and signing boards. To coincide with that, we're going to be doing social media. We're going to be activating all of our grassroots around asking people call their lawmaker, email their lawmaker, Facebook their lawmaker, ask them to go down and sign that board, show their support for oral chemo, and we are going to just start to hound them on this issue until they pass it. So that is what we're going to be doing during that week, and we also are maybe asking some people to come in to the Capitol that day, to be at the Capitol, to pull their lawmakers right off the House floor, talk to them face-to-face about oral chemo, so stay tuned for that. We have a lot of things in the works, and we're going to pull out everything that we can to make sure this gets passed before the end of the year. So we don't want to leave any stone unturned on this. We are going to do everything in our power, so at the end of the day, whether it passes or it doesn't, we'll know we did everything in our power to do it. We just need our legislators to listen and respond. So, but like Andrew said, we feel good about our chances of getting this passed before the end of the year. So that's what's going on in November, December. Keep in mind in December also there could be a lot going on around the federal budget, like I mentioned, so there could be action alerts around that and things like that. So it's been quiet for a while, but in the next 4 weeks, it's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And so hang with us, be vigilant, make those phone calls. Might need you to make 2 calls a week, shoot an email out. We just need your help for those 4 weeks, because it's going to come, it's going to be quick. We got to hit these legislators hard during that time, and then it's going to be over. So, and then we can rest for a little while, because a new session is going to start in January, and it'll be quiet in January probably, without much legislation being introduced and things like that. So, any questions on all that activity before I go to my last couple things here? All right. Last 2 things, they kind of go together, just events coming up after the first of the year to make aware of. We have always, at the end of January, early February, done our ACLEAD training. Last year, we invited some ambassadors to come to train them. This year, so you know what we're thinking about, is we are thinking about, many other states do this, of doing an actual volunteer training, where we will want all of our ACLEADs to come, but we'll be inviting all of our ambassadors to come if they would like, to do a training that might be slightly different than trainings we've done in the past. And so some of you, and I know Mary Ann, who's on the call, had mentioned this to me, we did last year in December for the first time a ACS CAN boot camp for our staff. And we did a lot of things, including a role-playing legislature, and it was very, very successful. So with our volunteer training, we're hoping to encompass some of that training with some of the stuff we did at that boot camp that were very successful, to hopefully enlighten and even give some of our more seasoned volunteers a little better idea of how the legislature actually works internally and how we advocate. But that volunteer training, we're also looking to get out of our office to do it and go do it somewhere else, here probably in East Lansing. So we'll probably be off-site somewhere else. It'll have a little different look, but we hope all the athletes will be able to make it, and we will be working with Phil to lock down a date on that very soon. And so be ready for that. We'll send that date out as soon as we have it locked down. And then the last thing I'll just mention really quick is that our lobby day is now going to officially be called our Day at the Capitol. That's what almost every state in the nation for ACS CAN calls it. So our ACS CAN Day at the Capitol, or Lobby Day, is going to be May 3rd, 2017. That's a Wednesday. We have changed venues. We've outgrown the House office building. We are going to actually have it at the Radisson downtown, in downtown Lansing, and it's going to look slightly different. We're actually going to be going to our legislators this year instead of having some of them come to us. And so it'll have a little different feel to it, but we think it's going to be very successful, and actually in some ways we actually like the potential that format might have, where we're going to have meetings in house offices, where it's going to be a little quieter, a little calmer, a little more one-on-one with those folks. So we're looking to do that May 3rd, 2017 at the Radisson. So after the first year, we'll have our registration open on that, and hope everybody can come. But just want to give you a heads up on that. And then with that, that's pretty much all I had. I'll open up if anybody has anything. Oh, one other thing, I almost forgot it. Pillars. So we sent out the athlete call information. It has the Pillars website on there. Hopefully you put all of your pillars in there and have gotten those, because that site is going to be shut down. So I'm running. Oh, so don't worry so much about if you don't have your stuff in the pillars right now. I've run a list up to today of everything that is in the pillars, and I have that, and I'm going to try and put all of that together in the next week or so to send to everybody, and just ask each athlete to email me back with anything that might be missing from there. And it can just be in bullet form. I did this, I did this, I did this, and I did this. We're going to kind of count up everything and record everything that we've done up to then. And we'll also then count everything we do up to the end of the year. And so in December, we'll kind of finalize our pillars of what everybody did for the last 15 months leading up to that, because we'll be looking to do some of our volunteer recognition at that volunteer training in late January, early February. So we have not heard any more information on the actual new volunteer activity center that they're going to have with the new website, but the new website should be launching here this month, and hopefully we'll get some more information on that and roll that out to you after the first of the year. So that's all I had. Anybody have any questions, comments, anything for the good of the whole?
Matt, if I understood you, pillar activity from a year ago through December, this coming December, will be treated as one year?
Yeah,
right?
As we transition to this new volunteer center thing, we're going to overlap a little bit, but we would rather we're always about giving credit to the volunteers for everything they do. So I'd rather overlap and give everybody credit up to December of everything they've done. We'll celebrate that. And then when we roll out this volunteer activity center, they'll be able to count everything they did from National Lobby Day to National Lobby Day. So.
Okay.
Good questions, though. Anything else before we go? We're running up on about a half hour. We try to keep all of these calls under a half hour for you, so we're not taking up your whole night. So with that, I will be sending out a recording of this, and we will be talking to everybody soon, and look for a lot of activity coming your way in the next 4 weeks as we try to have some significant victories here before the end of the year. So with that, I want to thank everybody for their time, and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.